So I'm looking at Babylon's clock and the way they begin everything midnight. They don't recognize evening as morning as the beginning of a day. It's right up top here. So it's like a reverse when you come to Jah's scriptural clock. Then days begin in the evening and the morning as well. So evenings and mornings. And then midnight would be the 6th hour. And then we have our watches, which are 3-hour periods in the red. A perfect time clock according to the scriptures. As you can see on your screen, we have the regular Roman modern clock with midday up top. And you notice that this is either midday or middle of the night. And we're going to use the middle of the night because this is the time period here when the false 24-hour day and date begins. So, at 12 o'clock a.m., that's when a calendar date changes for Babylon and the 24-hour day begins in their count. And that's when they even say false morning begins, because at 12:01 they say it's morning time. So it'll be 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we know it's well dark at that time. And I mean, just think about it. It was just the middle of the night. So that means it's the middle of the night. The night has a beginning period and an end period. Yet in the middle of the night, it changes to morning. So you can see that there's a lot of confusion here, and they're being very deceptive. Now, the evening and morning also are not even recognized as the beginnings. Now, when you get to the scriptures, the true beginning of night is the evening, or 6 p.m., and morning is 6 a.m. And remember, we're using these time frames here, whether the sun sets later or not. We all live on this earth and we utilize the 12-hour clock. So we're not using sundials to say, hey, we're going to have a long day in the summer and then a short day in the winter. But we're understanding that at 6 p.m., and especially around the equator, you'll get a half an hour or so, maybe even 45 minutes before 6 o'clock, and the same time period after 6 o'clock, depending on what season you're in. So it's simple to keep your 12-hour clock. It works perfectly, and it's in harmony with the Holy Scriptures. And looking at this understanding of the 12-hour night season, we have the first hour equaling 7 p.m. and the second hour equaling 8 p.m. And this is the configuration from the scriptural clock to Babylon's clock. The third hour would be 9 p.m. and also the beginning of the second watch. The 6th hour, of course, is midnight because it's the middle of the night. So when you look here, you have 12 hours. And what is the middle of 12 hours? The 6th hour. It's the middle. And yet they'll change their dates that time, but it shouldn't be that way. And then just going through, you can see the 9th hour is 3 a.m., which is the 4th watch. So watch is every 3 hours. And then the 12th hour, 6 a.m. in the morning, around when sun rises, a little bit before or after. And then we're going to begin our 12-hour daylight season. And we go from the first hour to 7, which is 7 a.m. Just like you see on the nights, on the night side, it's the same thing. 12 p.m. is midday, the middle of the day. It's the 6th hour. And then the 9th hour which is 3 p.m., mentioned a lot in scripture. It's the hour of prayer when the temple was opened every day for special prayer services from 3 p.m. till 4 p.m. or from the 9th hour to the 10th hour. And then the 12th hour is evening. And then once the evening comes again, that's the beginning, going back and forth with the cycle. Now, as you move along, this is how it would also look in terms of, looking at a creation day. We have the 12 hours of night on this side on the left, and on the right, we have the 12 hours of daylight. And the evening is the beginning of the 24-hour day on the 12-hour night season as well, which is the 12th hour, 6 p.m. The first hour would be likened to 7 p.m. And as we move through, we have again the 6th hour, which is midnight. So around on the outside is Jah's hours, and on the inside is Babylon's hours. So you can have a good understanding and equivalent when you start to use the clock. So on this side, remember, is 12 hours, and this side is 12 hours. And in saying that, I just want to remind you that this is why we only need a 12-hour clock, because there's 12 hours in the day, and 12 hours obviously would be in the night. So as we look at things again, midday, midnight are the middles of the two 12-hour night cycles. Scriptural 24-hour days and dates begin in the evening. Mornings begin around sunrise, 6 a.m. So when we look at the scriptural hours in the New Testament, we see in Acts 2:15, it mentions the third hour of the day, which is equivalent to 9 a.m. In Acts 3:1, it mentions at the hour of prayer being the 9th hour of the day, which is 3 p.m. So this is that hour of prayer when the temple was open for that time period. And in verse 9 of the same chapter, we have the 6th hour, which would be 12 p.m. or midday. And in verse 30, we also come back again with the 9th hour. This is where Cornelius said he was praying. And he was praying, obviously, during the hour of prayer. And I know that it's just good to know these things. But as you can see, when you're reading the scriptures, some people, if they didn't know, the true scriptural time frames, they might think the third hour of the day might be 3 in the afternoon, so to speak, 3 p.m. And they might think that the 9th hour might be 9 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night. Same thing with the 6th hour. They might think it's 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. So this is why it's important to know these things, and the scriptural clock helps to orient you. It's perfect, as a teaching tool for your children, or if you have a class for students, and something to keep you oriented in true times, because as you can see, time has been flipped around on us. Looking at a few more hours, we have the 3rd hour, the 6th hour, and the 9th hour, all referring to the time of when the Messiah was being crucified. And then, of course, at the 9th hour is when he gave up the spirit. So we can see in the scriptures that they do mention time frames, and if you have to know what these time frames are, otherwise you wouldn't be able to match up the proper time with the scripture. So when we're looking at this, looking at our clock on the right, and we have our chart, morning would be the 1st hour, beginning at 6 a.m. And of course, on a clock, it'd be 7 a.m., just like you see here. Babylon's numbers are on the outside. Jah's numbers are always going to be big on the inside, so you can have a good understanding. And then we see in scripture, we read the 3rd hour, we read the 6th hour, and we read the 9th hour. And now we're also going to get an understanding of the 11th hour, which lets us know that the 12th hour is evening, equivalent to 6 p.m. So Matthew 20, we got a clear understanding of the 12-hour day. And I really like this verse here because outside of being a fantastic parable, it's also a good verse of showing you how the Messiah himself is counting hours in the day. And it's quite clear that you're looking at 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. It says the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder, which went out early in the morning, which we're saying is 6 a.m., to hire laborers into his vineyard. And he agreed with the laborers for a penny a day. And he went out about the 3rd hour, which we know is 9 a.m. And he went out about the 6th hour, which is 12 p.m. midday, and 9th hour, which we're learning is 3 p.m. And about the 11th hour, it was 5 p.m. then, when you do the count, he went out and he says, why are you standing here all the day long, right? All the day. And so, of course, the day began early in 6 in the morning, and it's going to be going till 6 in the evening, during when the sunrise and sunset times are equivalent that way. So now, again, we're looking at our chart. You can see how the 11th hour fits in perfectly. That means it's 5 p.m., and it leaves us 1 hour, right? And let's see if we can put the 1 hour and fit it in with the 11th hour and evening. Continuing in the same verses. So it says, so when evening was come, we're saying it's 6 p.m., and you'll see why. The master of the vineyard called the laborers to give them from the last to the first. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, 5 p.m., they received every man a penny. So again, that was your 11th hour worker. And when the first came, they supposed that they would have had more, but they likewise, every man received a penny. And when they had received it, they murmured against the good man of the house, saying, these last, the 11th hour workers, have wrought, which means worked, but 1 hour. That's what it says there. So if they worked from 1 hour, they started working at the 11th hour and they worked till the 12th hour. And we know that this 12th hour is 6 p.m. because up here it lets you know it was evening. So you got almost like a perfect 12-hour cycle clearly in the scriptures. And then they go on to say, thou hast made them equal unto us, which have borne the burden and the heat of the day, the 12 hours when the sun is the hottest in the day. So now again, as we look at everything here, we can see it all put together quite clearly how the 12-hour cycle operates, with going around for 12 hours. The 11th hour worker was right here. Workers, they worked for 1 hour because it was that evening when he started to pay them. Praise Jah, a very good understanding. And you can see why the scriptural clock here is very important and vital, in understanding true times. Because why would they put these things in the scripture and then mess up the clock? Because they want to keep us in complete confusion. And this is why we have to put things straight, so it could be, good for us to learn, come closer to the Most High, and learn of His special time frames. Now, in saying that, it lets us know again that we know from creation is day 1 to day 7. But now when we're going to be studying the evenings according to the scripture, when we're talking about the 7-day weekly cycle, this is important for people to know. Because if you say you keep the 7-day Sabbath does not start at midnight, right? So we can see day 1 would be starting from Saturday evening at 6 p.m. And I put evening there just in case it sunsets earlier or later, until Sunday evening at 6 p.m. That's the 24-hour period that is day 1. But for 6 hours, that's the thing. For this first 6 hours, we're in Babylon's time. So it's almost like, you're in their calendar date for 6 hours, and then they match up with Jah's real date for 18 hours, which again is them corrupting things. 18 times 3. That's 3 6s. So if you're going to keep the true 7-day Sabbath, it should be from Friday evening 6 p.m. until Saturday evening 6 p.m. Whether you keep a 12-hour one or a sunrise one, that's up to you. So a lot of people don't know that the night hours are scripturally recognized as well. And in Acts 23, it reads, and he called unto him 2 centurions, saying, make ready 200 soldiers to go to Caesarea, and horsemen 70, and spearmen 200, at the 3rd hour of the night, which we know to be now on our 12-hour cycle is 9 p.m. and the beginning of the 2nd night watch. So it's good to see that during the Messiah's time and the apostles' time, hours were quite known. The Romans had measured out hours. Their day began at 6 a.m. as well in the morning, and that's where the 12-hour cycle started from. But of course now they corrupted it. So the 3rd hour of the night was being understood that way. So hours were counted in the nighttime. We have the first watch beginning the evening from 7 till the 3rd hour here, or beginning from 6. So such from here going through, that's the first watch. 2nd watch, 3rd watch, 4th watch. And then around the 4th watch is when the rooster crows. And of course, the 12th hour or 6 a.m. deals with morning. So again, we're matching up everything with the night seasons as well. And that's why we have the watches to deal with the night watches, which are 3 hours each. 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. And we can see these night watches in scripture. Lamentations 2:19 says, arise, cry out in the night, in the beginning of the watches, pour out thine heart like water before the face of Jah. And these 4 scriptural night watches are divided as such. The first watch is from the 1st hour to the 3rd hour, or 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. The 2nd watch is from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m., or the 3rd hour to the 6th hour. The 3rd watch is from the 6th hour to the 9th hour, 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. And the 4th watch is from the 9th hour to the 12th hour, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. Now, scripture in Luke can actually help to qualify what I'm saying here. It says in Luke 12, verse 38, and if he, the Messiah, shall come in the 2nd watch, or come in the 3rd watch, and find them so, blessed are those servants. Matthew 14:25 says, and in the 4th watch of the night, Jahoshua, Jesus, went unto them walking on the sea. So you can see again all the watches mentioned. So, like I said, here we are with this premium scriptural clock, and I just want to share that you know that this is a real clock. It's premium. I know the sisters in the room, Sister Andrea and Sister Janessa, have one. Wood, excellent. You can't hear a thing. Doesn't tick tick tick. It has a silent motion. Covered with glass, and it's real and it's excellent. It's accurate. As well, you can also be able to get the black one, and there's beige. Whoops. I think Sister Janessa has the beige. Again, great quality. This is probably a year now we've had these clocks, and it comes in beige, white, and black. And as well, you can get the acrylic clock, which is more premium. It's a little bit more expensive, a different production, smaller than the other clock. There we go. But it's nice, shiny, it's cute. It as well is very silent. Ugh. Okay. So those, you can, if you want to get one of those, you can just go to the education shop down below. All right. This is the shop where you can buy the calendars, the clock, all of the educational tools that will help you in your scriptural studies. It's located at education.com, but it is also in the description. This is the shop here when you come here. Again, you can check out any of the items you would like to get, and with the clock, you can see which color you like, the different angles of it, white, beige. You're able to select if you want black base, which is the base, or if you also want to have black hands or white hands right here. And remember, it all matches up perfectly to 12 hours.